Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in today's AFK journey video, we are back at the time of the month again, where we run through the hero wish list guide. And this time around, I'm going to split this guide into two categories. One, the beginners category. For the Asia players that are joining us on the 8th of August, this is the category for you guys. This is the category for the players who just started the game. You are developing your account and you don't have a sense of direction, how you want to build your account yet. So this is the wish list that you want to go for. And then in the second part, I will be talking about the mid to late game type of player wish list, where you guys have been playing on the global server for quite a bit. What are the latest meta stuff and why you should be building them. So without further ado, let's start with the beginners portion first, where I'll talk about the wish list that is catered to the Asia players or the CM players, or maybe even the VM players if you are watching my video. So first of all, let's start with the light bearer first. So for the light bearer A level characters itself, the only two characters worthy for the beginners will be Merrily as well as Corin, because these two characters, they will be the strongest dream realm characters for bossing purposes from the mid to late game once you unlock their EX weapon. So it's always good to go for them to get duplicate copies to secure your high bossing damage so that you get more rewards from your dream realm side of things. And then for the S level character, right now, for most, I'll say like a beginner's character or beginner player, I'll actually recommend one copy of Rowan. Not because Rowan is like a super duper powerful character, but rather Rowan is one of those characters that allows you to push through contents more easily. Rowan is also a character where you can get by spending money for your first purchase, if I remember correctly. So being able to upgrade him to, I'll say, like a legend tier or even just a slightly higher tier so that he survives better, allows him to sort of survive better in the battlefront to support your team through the energy recharge as well as the healing from the potion. So this character, he might not be the strongest in the late game, but he is extremely good for early game content pushing, and you might want to consider using him in your team just for the PvE content pushing sake. So that's for the beginner side. Another character in the S level could be either Vala or Tamasia, because Vala is an amazing arena unit. I'm not sure. I think the global banner will start off from Lily May. So Lily May will be the banner up rogue character. So in this case, if you're going for Lily May, I think Vala's priority falls off a little bit. You should probably go for Tamasia, because Tamasia together with Corin as well as Merrily will make up the Dream Realm side for light bearers. So these three units, they will find some use in Dream Realm in the mid game to the late game, and they are generally decent characters from the light bearer side. So for Rowan's case, I think once you get him to enough tankiness, right, I think one copy of him is okay in the early game, but he will need a little bit of stats from the tiers to survive better. Once you get him to a certain survivability, if you don't want to get him to Supreme Plus, then you will be replacing him with Vala. So because Vala is one of the stronger light bearer together with Tamasia, at least in the current meta that we are playing, or the current patch version that we are playing. So that's for the light bearer's case. So for Cassidy is a bossing character, so not that friendly for beginners, but if you are a whale who intend to min-max on everything, you might want to get Cassidy to Supreme Plus for bossing stuff for Battle Drill as well as certain Dream Realm bosses in the mid game. Atalanta, one of the worst character in the game, so don't bother putting her in the wishlist. Not that good, because wishlist is only for the characters you want to get. So since she's not going to be used and she's not that good, you probably don't want to go for her unless you're going for her for the waifu purposes. So for the Mauler side of things, okay, for the Mauler side, there's no argument for the A level as well. OD as well as Coco. So Coco, OD as well as Smokey, plus the free Entendra that the game gives to you, plus one more tank or one more support. It's like one of the best free-to-play pushing teams in the early game. So that's called the Mauler Pusher, and it relies on OD reaching Mythic Plus to unlock the EX weapon for his insta-killing ability. So he starts shooting his ultimate, insta-killing people, helping you accelerate your PvE content push. At the same time, OD is also really good for bossing in the Dream Realm. So generally a very versatile character both in the PvE front as well as the PvP front, because once you unlock the insta-kill, that's where he will start to shine. And then for Coco's case, Coco's one of the best support, right, for keeping your team alive with massive damage reduction and also a pretty decent bosser as well. So if you go for like these few units on the top for the light bearer and Mauler, your Dream Realm team is pretty solid. You just need to add in like a Torrent and then you're pretty much good to go for most of the bosses, at least in the pre-season or the early game itself. So this is the two A level character that you must go. For the S level side, you have more flexibility, but Smokey is a must, because Smokey is like this omnipotent support that provides heal, that provides buff, as well as do damage in the late game. So So in the late game where you are like pretty stacked out, right, there's a Smokey team which relies on Smokey's EX weapon to do the aromatherapy damage once you unlock the EX weapon. So if you guys are new to the game, beginner wise, just know that Smokey is an amazing healer and damage dealer, but in the late game this character can turn into a carry. So he does a lot for the team, heal, buff, damage in the late game, and then he's very useful and versatile from the early to even the current stage of the game where I'm at in the super late game. So the next character I'll say is relatively flexible. I chose Elsa for beginners because I think Elsa generally does quite a bit in many different game modes, so very useful. But at the same time, I think if you want to prepare yourself to counter like the control teams, which is Iron centric in the future, right, you could probably invest in Lily May, or you could also prepare to invest in Shakir, because Shakir has the ultimate. When he transforms into the wolf form, he grants aura which provides damage reduction, haste, as well as control immunity. So quite good against control team, and there are certain Dream Realm bosses that run Shakir right now, so this character has some utility everywhere and it's quite balanced. Just don't go for Brutus, Lumon, or Reese. Okay, actually Reese is fine as well. You don't actually get Reese from the shard, so these three characters you don't actually get them from the arena store. For this Rhino guy, Lumon, as well as Brutus, I think they become a lot better in the Song of Strife season, which is the new season, and they could become better in the future season. But in the early game, in the pre-season where you guys are at, for the beginners that just start the game, they are not that strong, right? You can go for 1 or 2 copy of Brutus to form the Mauler team, but there's actually another insane tank down there, so that's why I wouldn't encourage you to go for Brutus or Lumon here. Either Shakir, right, Elsa, or Reese. I'll say highest priority goes to Elsa, because Elsa forms a very powerful late game arena team that you guys can definitely try out, which is called the Iron Burst. Very powerful there. And if not, just go for Shakir. Shakir generally has a lot of utility and is a counter control unit, so very powerful against control in the late game. So next, let's move on to the next one, Wilders. So for Wilders A level, right, I have always been recommending Arden as well as our dear Damien over here. But right now, I think moving forward, depending on how Lily May changes the meta, this A level character for Wilders might change, because Almas, which is also another amazing unit to synergize with Iron or even other control units, seems to be quite a decent choice. But depending on how Lily May changes the meta, this A level recommendation for beginners might change. But for most beginners just starting off the game, I think Damien and Arden is a pretty good choice. So Arden is an amazing AoE damage dealer with a very good control, and once you get him to the late game, he does quite a lot of damage, and he together with Damien synergizes insanely well with this unit called Iron, who has been dominating the meta for the longest time possible. But with the release of Lily May, right now in the current version that I'm recording, we do not have Lily May yet, but Lily May is coming on the global side on the 8th of August, which is also the release for the Asia side. So Lily May might be able to counter Iron and even Iron teams in general. So right now, I'll say based on the current meta, before Lily May, I think Damien and Arden. But they won't be a bad choice, because Arden is AoE damage. So if you need AoE damage to just control the enemy, to root them, and then do damage in the process, I think Arden's pretty okay. Damien just an amazing healer that keeps on coming back, and then once you get the EX weapon unlocked, he's able to provide the haste for the team. So very good character generally as well. So with that, you have quite a bit of healers here. And then Iron is a must-have. You don't actually get him anywhere from the game itself, so you can't buy his shards from the game. And he's one of the best character all around, or for the different game modes, for PvE, for PvP. The only thing that he doesn't do very well is Dream Realm, but other than that, he's amazing everywhere else. So at least before, right, Lily May, which is where I'm recording right now, he's one of the strongest character. In fact, I'll call him the strongest generally all around. So that's for Iron over here. And then right here, next one is Florbell. So Florbell is another Wilders unit which is not within the arena store. So for those of you guys who are wondering, okay, what is this arena store that I'm talking about? In this game, there's actually this Emporium shop where you're able to buy for some character shards with your arena coins over here. So these are the characters that you can actually buy. So you can buy 3 of the Wilders S class, Hewin over here, right, Danny over here, as well as Brian over here. So you don't actually need to put them on a wish list. If you really want to go for them, you can get 2 copies of them as a free-to-play player. And if you really like your playstyle, right, you want to accelerate their growth, then you put them in the wish list so that you get them faster. So for like, if you don't know what to do, don't put those characters that you can buy first. Just go for like Florbell as well as Irons, because they are not available. And then later on, if you feel that, hey, maybe I want a Hewin maxed out, then you can actually go for the shot and put her in a wish list. So in terms of the wish list, is pretty customizable all the time, but based on like my experience for beginners, you should just go for Florbell and Iron, because you can't get them. You can't get like them from other sources other than from pooling. So just put them there first. And if you realize that, hey, maybe I like Hewin better, then Hewin and Iron, because Iron is the best character in the game and you definitely must put him in the pool. And Hewin, if you like her as a healer, you can put her here. If you want a tank that is not Torrent, then you go for Danny. But there is a tank that I think for most players will be recommended, which is Torrent down there. So generally it's either between Hewin or Florbell. Okay, but if let's say in the early game you have Smokey and Coco ready, I think Hewin is not that much in a rush, because Hewin is not that strong in the early game. Hewin scales really well into the late game once you unlock the EX weapon. But right now, I think at the start, Florbell and Iron will be recommended for all beginners. Okay, just do the swaps, based on your own account, based on how you want to develop your account moving forward. Okay, if you guys need more team building guide, do let me know. If you're a beginner, then I'll do more team building guide specifically for the Asia server side. So next we have the Graveborn, the wish list. So Torrent is a must put. Like, this character is the best tank in the game right now, being able to retaliate, do damage from there, being able to have multiple lives to survive and tank up for the team, being able to protect allies by linking to them once you have the EX weapon skill. This character is one of the strongest well-rounded character. Torrent is used for PvE content, used for PvP, used for Dream Realm bosses, and even Battle Drill itself. So must pull, just put him there, you won't regret it. For the second slot, I would recommend Carolina if you want to go for the the late game pushing build, if you want to prepare for a late game PvE content pushing, or even the late game Iron Carolina combo, which is still quite potent in the PvP side. If not, you can put Aldea Cecilia over here, get her to a few copies, I think maybe legendary, and then swap her out for Carolina, because you don't actually get Carolina from the store. You can get Cecilia as well as Igor from the store, but for some people they will recommend you to pull for Cecilia to push through the AFK stages faster in the early game. So depending on how fast you want to push through your AFK stages in the early game, you decide whether or not you want to put Cecilia on a wish list. So if it's me, I'll say put her here until you get like legendary or sufficient enough for her to help you type through the early game, until like one of your late game carries like Iron or OD comes online, and then you do a complete swap for your PvE team, then you can actually just take her out and put her for Carolina. So that's for the S level Graveborns. And then for the other two units, A level side, I think Sylvina for PvP purposes, Viperium for PvP purposes, right? I think Niru's gonna be quite okay as well, so this is swappable, but Sylvina will be a top pick because she can be quite powerful when you're attacking others in PvP. So this will be the beginner's wish list. Okay, so this is the wish list for the beginners that are joining us on the Asia server. Okay, so this is all the general wish list. Now I'm gonna cover the players who are currently playing the game, what's the meta looking like, and how should you be positioning your wish list. Okay, what are the different metas, what are the different teams available? So based on the Light Bearer side, Light Bearer should still be Thermasia as well as Vala, because Vala's very powerful for PvP. You use her for certain bossing contents. But if let's say you want to focus on Battle Drill and you already have Thermasia Supreme Plus, then you don't actually need her to be a super high tier, right? Then you can put in your Cassidy over here. So if you're very developed in Thermasia, then you swap Thermasia out. If not, keep Thermasia inside. But Cassidy should be the one to go up for bossing contents. For A level side, I think there's really very little to change about them, because they're the two best units. But if you're in a strong or strike season and you want another tank option, you can probably swap out Corinne for Aldea Lucius, or if you think that you're contented with Merrily at a specific tier, you can also do this swap. So these three will be the interchangeable ones, but I'll still keep the two of them here. And then for Mauler's case, okay, Mauler is going to be Elsa together with Smokey, because in the current meta of things, right, there's actually a very, very powerful offensive arena comp, which consists of Iron, right, Elsa, together with Aldea, Smokey, Arden, and Almus. right? So this is an insta control plus burst team, which is insanely powerful. So I will recommend you go for Elsa at this point. And Elsa is also really good for battle drill as well as bossing stages for certain Dream Realm bosses. Decently good, not the best, but you can definitely use her. And for Smokey, if you haven't got Smokey to Supreme Plus, keep Smokey there. Smokey is just one of the best character together with Iron, right? So for beginners as well as late gamers, very, very good option. Now for the A level side, okay, so now for the A level side, once you have either of these character maxed out to the tier you want them to be, then you can actually prepare for another Dream Realm character known as Kruger. So this character is returning as one of the best Dream Realm characters. So if you haven't got him like started up for like more tankiness to survive better in the endless mode, you can put him in the wishlist to prepare for him. In fact, I think Coco at Supreme Plus is more than sufficient. Unless you're pushing Coco beyond the Supreme Plus tier, then I think once you have Smokey and Coco to Supreme Plus, you can swap out Kruger for maybe Antandra. Antandra's also okay, but then if you want to keep your OD there to prepare for prepare for Paragon OD, then you can just keep OD there and then put Kruger into your list. So this is for the late gamer. Okay, so this one over here. And then for the wilder side, okay, so right now Iron will still be in the banner or in the wishlist because like I mentioned, he's still really powerful. He's also still called to the team, right, for the Elsa burst together with Iron, Arden, Damien, as well as our Almas over here. So keep him here. But for Floribel's case, like I mentioned, if now you have a clearer sense of who you want to go, Hewin could be a good choice, as mentioned, for the beginners, or even Danny as a good choice as well. So this is more for the late gamers, but I'll still keep Floribel here because like I mentioned, you don't actually get to buy her. So keeping her, preparing for like the different Dream Realm bosses as well as like the different zoo teams that you want to build in the future, I think she's quite strong. And then for the A level, by this time, if you have been playing the game long enough, you would have either one of these characters to Supreme Plus, so you can actually remove them and put Almas into the pool and even Parisa into the pool. Or if you want to push your Arden to Paragon tier like myself, then you put Arden together with our dear Almas here. But if you're not considering Paragon, then you put Parisa in for the late gamers if you have them at Supreme Plus already. Okay, so this is how the list will look like. And then lastly, for the Graveborn list, this will still be the list I recommend and I advocate. Unless you're a collector and you already have them at Supreme Plus, then you can actually swap them out for these two units. So for the Graveborn side, it's still flexible for the A class side. So I'll just put them there because this is the two units I put on my wish list. So for me right now, this is how my wish list will look like. For Alma's case, you just need to get him to Supreme Plus to get the Mythic Plus weapon ability to synergize with Iron, and then you get an Elsa and Arden together with Damien, or even Hewin in Damien's place, and then you have a very powerful burst team in the arena. So we are not sure whether or not Lily May will change the late game meta extensively, but right now it's safe to assume Lily May will change it. But Lily May won't be in the hero wish list. She'll be in a banner for like 1 month plus, so for 28 days. So we will do a September update once she drops into the wish list to see whether or not Lily May is worthy to go into your hero wish list. So that's for the wish list portion for both the beginners as well as the late gamers. Now let's move on to the Epic Recruitment side. So for the Epic Recruitment side, it is very, very flexible. I would say you can choose the characters that you cannot buy from the arena store, because this one gives you a higher chance to get your S rank because of the higher percentages. So it's more valuable to go for units you don't get from the arena store. So I think Iron's definitely a must put, Torrent's definitely a must put, Smokey's also definitely a must put. As for the two other units, it depends on what you want to build. So for me right now, I'm going for Elsa and Floribel because I don't have them and they're decently good, so I'm trying to get them. That's why I put them there. But there's also another way for you to min-max your pools to get your very powerful A-class characters like Merrily as well as Corinne. So this is known as the banner swap, right? So I'll link the banner swap concept in the link down below, but right now I think I wouldn't encourage you guys to do it because there's way more A-level characters, so you are going to get a lot of different variances, which is why I think just keep to the S-level character, right, for you to get them faster. Okay, one more thing about the A-level character is for those of you guys who are a beginner to the game, if you put your A-level character here, you can actually put them here. So for example, if I put all my A-level characters here, for example, I put some of the most powerful Dream Realm characters, okay, Coco, and then I'm gonna put Kruger, for example, right? So these are all the amazing Dream Realm characters. If you want to max them, you can put them in the hero choice. So what will happen is for the S level, if you get the proc S level, you'll get 1 copy for the duplicates, but for the A level, you will get 5 copies of them. So this will help you accelerate their tiers to the Mythic Plus first to get their Supreme Weapon up. That's where they get their massive spike for some of these very strong A level characters. So you can do this to manipulate the banner percentages, which I'll link in the video like I mentioned earlier in the description down below, so you guys can understand the concept. But right now, I will encourage you to go for the characters, which right is very hard to get. You don't actually get them from the shop, and they are insanely powerful. So these are the characters. Let me just put them here. Okay, so this is my recommended wish list for everyone, right? So for beginners as well as the late gamers. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this wish list guide. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys, especially for those of you guys who are joining us on the Asia server in about 1 day's time, right? 8th of August. I'll see you guys around, right? I'll be releasing quite a few guides with regards to the beginner side of things, so stay tuned for that. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more, and see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.